so you couldn't fill anything out, not letting you out the door. You know, you disrupt them. Well, the way that Roosevelt disrupted Germany so they didn't get dug in is he ordered around-the-clock bombing of German cities. Just bombed the hell out of them. Bombed them into submission. Now, he thought that if they continually assaulted German cities, that the morale among the people of Germany would lower. Can you imagine how many times you're going to get punched in the nose before you're tired of it and you submit, right? And so his thought process is, it might affect the war effort, it might keep them from building the goods they need, but if we can get it to German morale too, maybe we can turn this thing around. Well, this continual bombing really didn't affect Germany's war effort, but it did hammer away at German morale. Okay? Can you imagine being bombed around the clock? Can you imagine having to worry about that as a German country? Here's a statistic for you. By the end of World War II, 2.7 million tons of bombs had been dropped on Germany. By the end of World War II, the Allies had dropped 2.7 million tons of bombs in Germany. Now, where is Germany getting the upper hand? On which front right now? The eastern, western, or southern? Which one right now, at this time in history, do you think that they're getting the upper hand? They're kicking butt, the Germans. Okay, the western is going to be what? D-Day and that? So not where are they? We haven't got to the south yet.
Eastern.
The eastern front. Who's fighting on the eastern front? You remember? Germans against who mainly? Russia. Okay, so we won't throw in all the other countries at this time. Well, Soviet leader Joseph Stalin is getting his butt handed to him on the eastern front. He's losing thousands of soldiers daily, getting kicked all over the eastern front. And he needs the United States and Great Britain to get in there and take some pressure off his troops. He's got to get some assistance or he's going to lose the eastern front. So who gets together to make a plan to relieve Russia? Who are the two leaders of those two countries? President Roosevelt and Winston Churchill. And they get together and they try to devise a plan to relieve Russia because Russia's getting beat up good on the eastern front. Now, is it going to do the United States and Great Britain a lot of good to hammer at the eastern front? Is that going to take pressure off those soldiers? No, you've got to get Germany's attention somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? Because right now all they're doing is concentrating on the eastern front. There's no other place to fight. Well, what happened is Prime Minister Churchill suggested that the Allies attacked the southern part of Europe, okay, instead of the eastern part. Because what's Germany going to have to do if they're attacked from the south? They're going to have to take concentration away from the east and concentrate on the south. And Winston Churchill referred to the southern part of Europe as the soft underbelly of Europe. He thought if the Allied forces, United States and Great Britain, would attack the southern front of Europe, that it would take attention from Germany off of the east and make them pay attention to the south. And Prime Minister Churchill referred to this area of Europe, the southern part, as the soft underbelly of Europe. Now, what part south of Europe is under German and Italian control that the Allies are going to have to take away, the United States and Great Britain? What do they control right now? South of Europe, North Africa, very good. So in order to obtain the objective of winning the southern front, the Allies are going to need to gain control of North Africa. And North Africa at the present time was under the control of Germany and Italy. So in June of 1942, British forces under General Bernard Montgomery pushed the Axis powers from North Africa into Egypt. Okay? In June of 1942, British forces under General Bernard Montgomery pushed the Axis powers into Egypt. That battle, led by British General Bernard Montgomery, that pushed the Axis powers into Egypt, was known as the Battle of El Alamein. Battle of El Alamein. So in June of 1942, British forces under General Bernard Montgomery pushed the Axis powers into Egypt at the Battle of El Alamein. 5 months later in November, of 42, American General Dwight D. Eisenhower lands an American army in North Africa. In November of 1942, American General Dwight D. Eisenhower lands an American army in North Africa. And after a series of battles, the Allies control both Morocco and Algeria. These are all on the maps that I gave you. So after a series of battles, Dwight Eisenhower and his American army gained control of both Morocco and Algeria. What's that? He turns out to be a president, yes. Morocco and Algeria. These are areas in North Africa. The toughest battle for the Allies and the Americans especially is going to occur in February of 1943 when they fight in Tunisia. American forces are going to fight German forces in Tunisia. The German field marshal that was going to lead Germany in this battle against Eisenhower and the Americans in Tunisia was Field Marshal Erwin Rommel. Very, very effective military leader. And all Eisenhower's hoping to do there is not win, but what? Not lose. If he can fight to a standstill in Tunisia, he thinks it'll be an advantage for the Allies. And that's what happens. In February of 1943, American tanks fight German Field Marshal Erwin Rommel and his German army to a standstill in Tunisia. In February of 1943, American tanks fight German Field Marshal Erwin Rommel and his army to a standstill in Tunisia. Well, after this stalemate, Hitler calls Rommel back to Germany. He's recalled to Germany. And what happens to the German army after he leaves? Collapses. Bad move on Hitler's part to call Rommel back. Not sure the reasoning. Some say it's because he was disappointed that he did not defeat the American army at Tunisia, but he recalled him back to Germany, and the German army fell apart. He was the rock that kept them together. So the Allies now enjoy a total victory where? Well, the whole thing. Northern Africa, which consists of Egypt, Tunisia, Morocco, Algeria. So the Allies have enjoyed a victory in North Africa. Now here's the key. Because of the concentration that Germany had to send to the soft underbelly of Europe, all of a sudden the Soviets win a big battle over Germany in the Eastern Front at Stalingrad. So because of Churchill's strategy that brought Germans off of the Eastern Front to help with the Southern Front, the Russian army gets reorganized and they win a big-time victory over Germany at Stalingrad. The Russians defeat nearly 300,000 Nazi soldiers there, and it halts the German advance in the eastern part of Europe. So the Eastern Front takes a turn with the Soviet victory at Stalingrad, in which 300,000 Nazi soldiers are defeated by Russia, and it turns the tide in Eastern Europe. So we're making some advances, are we not? We're making advances on the Eastern Front. We're making some advances, and we've completely taken the Southern Front. But there's one country that we'll talk about tomorrow that we still have to take on the southern end to make this work. Which country is it? Italy. Okay? We'll talk about fighting in Italy, and then we'll talk about the invasion at Normandy, or D-Day, okay, which is a big deal in our history. Okay? Now I want to talk to you a little bit, clear the air,